Ciao! So in this video we are going to talk about Roman theaters and baths buildings. So both of these were for entertainment. Theaters were for sure taken from the idea and the structure and the architecture started by the Greeks, but the Romans usually built completely the structure. On the other hand, the Greeks were using the sloping of hills or such. So they were designed, Roman theaters, in the shape of a half circle and built on level ground. So it was a raised stadium style seating, as you can see, similar to what we have seen in the amphitheaters and in the stadiums. So Roman theaters could arrive to hold up 15,000 people, and the people went there to be entertained with plays like mime, then farce, tragedy, or comedy, but also orations, so speakings, dance, and choral events. This is the theater of Pompeii in the picture. This could host about 5,000 people. So this is a picture of a very well preserved theater in Bosra, in Syria, and with the arrows here you can see the different parts. So number one is called the Scène France. That was a high back wall of the stage floor. This usually was supported by columns. So then the proscenium, that here you can see with number 4, was a wall that supported the front edge of the stage and usually had ornately decorated niches of the sides. The Hellenistic influence, so the Greek influence, is seen, for example, through the use of the proscenium. The Roman theater also used to have a podium. What is the podium? The podium was sometimes supporting the columns of the Scène France. So is this part here underneath the columns. Then the Scène, so the Scène France, was originally not a part of the building itself, but was constructed only to provide a background for actors. Eventually, it became a part of the edifice itself, as you can see here, made out of concrete. So the theater was divided, the theater itself was divided into the stage that was called the pulpitum, so you can see number 3 in the picture, and the orchestra, that's number 5. So where the plays took place. And the seating section, similar to amphitheaters and stadiums, that was called the auditorium or cavea. So then vomitoria here, you see an example with the arrow number 8, are the entrances or exits available for the audiences. We have said this for the Colosseum too. Then we have seen the theater in Fiesole, so early this fall, here, when you were here. Then we were supposed to go and see what is left of the theater of Florence, Florencia, in the underground of Palazzo Vecchio. But we have seen in Rome too the theater of Marcellus. That's the only ancient theater left in Rome. So it was conceived first by Julius Caesar and later built by the first emperor of Rome, Augustus, in honor of his nephew Marcellus, son of his sister Octavia. This boy died at the age of 20 and was immortalized in the poetry of Virgil in the Aeneid. The original structure accommodated between 15,000 and 20,000 people. What we see today of the structure that probably and for sure served as a model for the Colosseum is a part of the curved exterior wall with this double row of arches that are framed by Doric and Ionic columns. Then above it, in the 16th century, the architect Baldassare Peruzzi built a palace for a noble family called the Savelli. Later became the palace of the Orsini family. Nearby, there are the remains of the porticus. So this was another special building, public building in Rome, that Augustus built in honor of his sister. So the porticus usually was, so as the name says, a monumental portico with inside some special structures as temples, as little curiae, so meeting places for the Senate, or so halls for lectures. Then under the portico there could be works of art. So places again for strolling, meeting, and entertaining the people. We have the frontal part left of the porticos of Octavia, the propylaeum. So this part here, this columnade part with the fronton, as the atrium, so the entrance of a very ancient church of the 8th century CE called the Sant'Angelo in Pescheria. Pescheria is a fish shop in Italian, and so was named like this because here there used to be a fish market. And here on the right you can see what is left about the propylaeum, so some columns, the fronton, and the trabeation, the architrave with the dedicatory inscription. So this is another view of the theater, and this is the possible reconstruction of it and of the area. About baths. So when we have been to the baths of Caracalla, we have said how the baths were organized and the use of them. So after work or daily round, the Romans used to go to public baths. This was for men and for women. There could be separate sections or different times to enter the baths. So usually the central part of the baths include the caldarium, hot room with a hot bath, tepidarium, warm room. Not always here there was a bath, but they used to be more as dressing room, and frigidarium or cold bath. And sometimes there was an open air bathing pool, as we have seen in Fiesole, here in Fiesole. So in these two pictures you can see the different sections on the left for men and women, and then the central courtyard was used for exercise. These are on the left the Stabian baths in Pompeii. Then here is only a drawing to let you see the different parts. So the apoditerium was the dressing room, the frigidarium, the cold room and bath, the tepidarium, the warm bath, then the calidarium, the hot bath, and then the laconicum, that was a kind of sauna, so where they used to have steam baths. Then you see here another definition, hypocaustum. So what is the hypocaustum? The hypocaustum is the heating system of Roman baths. So you see that the floor of the hot rooms was raised on these pillars that were beneath the floor. So then through fluid channels that were beneath the floor too, or through the walls, the whole room could be heated. So the system was to use a furnace that was adjacent to the floor and wall of the hot rooms, so to produce hot air that so was heating through the floor and the walls of the room, and then they were used to heat water too, to fill then the hot bath. These are other pictures of the same system. So you see the pillared floor and the flutes in the walls. So the emperors were very active in the provision of public baths. So when the population increased very much and the standard of living rose, so the supply for baths was not enough. So emperors provided many of these buildings. The most important of all were the baths of Caracalla or Terme Antoniniane, dedicated in 216. So you see we are at the beginning of the 3rd century CE, and still is one of the most impressive buildings that have come down from antiquity. So they are a great example of imperial architecture because they were using concrete, and so they are the embodiment of architecture made in concrete of the earlier empire, but at the moment of full maturity. So we are in a late stage of the empire. Caracalla was a member of the Severan dynasty, and their period is called that of the Severan architecture, that demonstrates qualities of resource and high technical competence. Here you can see a reconstruction of the beautiful baths of Caracalla. Then here you can see a model of the baths. So the central building was the one of the customary rooms and palestre and gymnasia that you can see in the map here too. Calidarium, tepidarium, frigidarium, and natatio, so pool, open air pool, then the 2 palestre. Then there was an entire boundary structure with an hippodrome, a stadium, then 2 meeting places, probably libraries, and all this back part was for the provision of water coming from a new branch of an aqueduct, because you have to imagine how much water was needed for the use of this big complex. So they were built along the Via Appia, one of the major roads near Rome, and was outside the first walls, the Servian walls built by the king Servius Tullius. Later, they were included in the second great walls of the city built by Emperor Aurelian. And we are in the end of the 3rd century AD. They were the largest of the public baths built in Rome. Then there will be another one later, built by Emperor Diocletian. So many modern buildings are modeled on ancient Roman architecture. For sure, Washington DC Union Station was modeled on the Caracalla baths, especially with this coffered vaulted ceilings and this massive structure. Then, to end this other video, I already mentioned these structures for sports that were common in Rome for the Romans to exercise, so used by gladiators, but different kind of athletes. So, for example, the gymnasia we have seen in the baths, but there were others. Then the stadia, the stadiums, we have seen the Domitian Stadium, so that was used, yes, for horses, but for athletic contests too, and for example, running. The Xisti, as you can see here, this is the palestra in the picture of Pompeii. So the open courtyard was to exercise. Then the porticos were usually for the wrestlers to exercise, wrestlers and boxers. Very beautiful are these mosaics that I've put here that were decorating the floor of the baths of Caracalla, especially the part of the palestri. And it's called the Mosaic of Athletes. As you can see, most of athletes were performing and exercising nude. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!